everyone, it's Desiree, and we are going to create our card featuring the Glimmer and the Embossing Folder Club of the Month for July. Now, this Glimmer plate creates stripes, and it is called Add a Stripe of Color. I thought it paired perfectly with the embossing folder for the month called Geometric Stripes. Embossing folders are great. They will fit your regular A2 size cards, slimline cards, and any card in between, which is terrific. So I'm taking a piece of dark purple cardstock, and I'm going to be using silver foil, and I'm just using that entire strip at the same time, and I'll be cutting those down. I grabbed some Distress Oxides in Saltwater Taffy, Picked Raspberry, and Villainous Potion. I think these three look absolutely fantastic together. I dug into my stash on some watercolor paper that I have that is extremely textured. So I'm going direct to paper with my pads to get more ink down, and it'll help to blend just a little bit better to fill in all of those crevices. I want to make sure I have a good coating of my Distress Oxide so that I'm going to be adding water to this. So I really want to make sure that I have a lot of this dye pigment ink mixture going on there. You can see that when it comes to this purple, it really stains and it really goes down. It's a beautiful, vibrant purple. And I'm not worried too much that I've got a perfect blend. I just want to make sure that my panel is completely covered. You can see how much water that I'm putting in. And what I'm working on is a scrap pad that I get from the dollar store. And so that it doesn't buckle. You know, it'll always bow when you add water to your paper. So yes, it looks like I'm stabbing it. So I'm going to add a pin so it doesn't look so violent as I'm doing that. And it's going to help keep it flat. I want the colors to move, but I don't want them to spread from one. I don't want that purple to go from the base all the way up to the top. I want it to stay in each of the levels. So I set that aside and let that dry. Yes, it's going to put a hole where water's going to puddle and so forth, but we're going to cover that up, so I wasn't too worried about it. While I was doing this, my Glimmer was heating up my plates and getting my foil onto my cardstock. And you'll see that when I pull this away, I get a beautiful result when it comes to these stripes. And they're perfectly positioned. I mean, you could just take this cardstock and put it directly onto your card base to get some beautiful foiled effects. As I said, I am going to be trimming these down just a little bit, and I apologize, I'm off camera here as this is drying. It is curling at the end, so I'm just sopping up some of those ends so that I don't get those dark pools of color there. Now you can also, this Glimmer Club Kit of the Month also comes with dies, so you could also use your solid cardstocks or pattern papers to create your strips as well. I'm using my Fiskars card or paper trimmer, and it's got that metal guide that goes down so that I know where this blade's going to go across each of my panels. Because I'm getting close up into that, my fingers can't fit in there. I'm using actually a Post-it just to hold that cardstock in place so that I can put the pressure down so that my line won't go crooked. You can see that oxides are beautiful when they dry because they react to this water in a beautiful way. I'm going to set this down, make sure it's lined up in my embossing folder, and I'm going to use my platform, and I'm going to put my embossing folder and then one cutting plate to run that through my Spellbinders Platinum 6. I got a little bit of ink on the embossing folder, but it is extremely easy to clean. Just took a baby wipe or a paper towel just to wipe that off so that it's ready for the next time. So here's our panel. We've got some great dimension going on. I'm taking that same dark purple cardstock and I'm trimming that down to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 so that this will fit on our standard A2 size card base. And then I'm going to trim down this panel to be 4 by 5 1/4. These are just measurements. For those of you that have been here before, I usually don't measure, but I know when it comes to these measurements, these are usually my go-to. Since this has so much texture, I would recommend using a liquid adhesive. In this case, I'm going to be using my U-Line 2-inch double-sided film tape. It is very strong, very unforgiving, but this card will not go anywhere. But what I mean by unforgiving is once it touches the paper, when you pull it apart, you're going to rip your paper. But I also use this especially when I use a lot of water on some watercolor paper or Bristol paper, because it'll flatten it out. Because again, when we do that, it is going to warp some. I'm taking those panels that I cut with the foil and I'm gluing them down in certain areas of our panel, and then just using the design to line them up. Trimming off the excess. And then I'm just grabbing a sentiment from one of those pre-made sentiment strip sets. And I'm going to use some foam squares to prop that up. And because these are such dark and vibrant colors, I chose one to have a black background with the white letters. Now you can see I kind of reversed it. I put the dark up on the top. Usually we put that dark on the bottom of our card and then we get lighter as we go. Why can't we reverse that? I think it looks great because the purple did seep into that pink just a little bit more. And that is our card for today. Again, featuring the Glimmer and the Embossing Folder combined club kits for July. As always, the products that I used will be listed down below, along with all of the other clubs that are available, and including the blog for Spellbinders and their shop, but especially the blog so that you can get even more inspiration for these club kits and all of their other products. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave those down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Enjoy your day. Have fun creating your art. But always remember what's most important. Always be creative, and I will talk to you in the next one. Till then.